What is the absolute limit of Beerus's true power? And why would a deity who can literally wipe out everything with a single sneeze constantly bluff about his own limits, with his completely broken and absurdly massive power? Every single time he makes a bold claim about his strength, it is rarely entirely accurate. Since my knowledge has its limits, there might be some mistakes or missing details. Please drop a comment to help me out, and I will definitely pin the most valuable addition. 1. The God of Destruction, commonly known as Beerus or Bills. He is male, and his age is over 200 million years old, calculated before age 778. Occupation: God of Destruction, assigned to Universe 7. His appearance resembles a hairless SPHYNX cat. His absolute best mate is Weiss, his angel attendant, and he also keeps a bizarre pet, which is the oracle fish. Plus, his twin brother is Champa, the God of Destruction for Universe 6. 2. Among the countless deities in the entire cosmos, if we consider both his tier and his personality, Beerus is genuinely the most terrifying entity alive. Even the Kai overseeing the universal quadrants, the galaxies, or the Supreme Kais themselves, who are the gods of gods, fear him absolutely. Beerus usually just operates purely based on his own personal whims, rarely ever taking orders or listening to anyone else lecturing him. 3. On one fateful day in the ancient past, the dinosaurs on Earth showed a complete lack of respect toward Lord Beerus. On top of that, they ate like absolute pigs, so he ruthlessly obliterated those dinosaurs, essentially wiping them entirely out of existence. However, in reality, dinosaurs still roam freely on Earth. They even casually participate in martial arts tournaments. And there is a massive flock of them living on the monster island that Android 17 fiercely protects. Did Beerus actually lie? Well, I have to explain this carefully. It is totally canon that 2 million years ago, Beerus indeed dropped a massive Hakai sphere down to eradicate the Earth dinosaurs, and then arrogantly turned his back and walked away. But the creator actually wrote another manga called Dr. Slump, which directly connects to the Dragon Ball universe. In that timeline, a ridiculously OP little girl named Aral used a time machine to travel back to the prehistoric era to play. Right at that exact moment, a devastating Hakai sphere came crashing down to wipe out the creatures of that era. But this absolute powerhouse of a girl literally knocked it into space, saving the dinosaurs, and that specific sphere of destruction actually became the moon in the Dragon Ball world. For those who haven't realized, in Dragon Ball Super Episode 69, Aral literally punched the Earth in half and punted Vegeta straight into outer space. After that, she actually traded blows with Goku using Super Saiyan Blue, acting like it was just a casual game. Since she has that level of sheer plot armor, deflecting the attack of Beerus makes total sense. For every single 1,000 years, the Supreme Kais and other top-tier deities hold an incredibly crucial universal conference. During one of these massive gatherings, exactly 75 million years before age, the Supreme Kai, at the time, Old Kai, got into a fiercely heated argument with the God of Destruction, Beerus. The whole reason for their clash was incredibly trivial anyway, in a fit of immense rage. And since he couldn't actually kill a Supreme Kai, Beerus used a technique remarkably similar to the evil containment wave, brutally sealing Old Kai inside the Z sword. And the crazy part is, he totally forgot about it afterward. That left the poor old man locked away for a staggering 75 million years. Meanwhile, that cursed sword became an absolute legend among all the future Supreme Kais, and nobody had a single clue about its actual dark origin. They just assumed that the Chosen One could effortlessly pull the holy sword out, exactly like King Arthur pulling out Excalibur. That is, until one fateful day when Gohan forcefully pulled the sword out, accidentally snapping it in half, and finally letting Old Kai escape. To this very day, he remains absolutely terrified of Beerus. 5. What is the true extent of his overwhelming power? Exactly. Honestly, there have been quite a few moments where his insane power levels were revealed across the anime and manga, but judging by how things actually unfolded, it was all a massive bluff. Not a single one of those statements holds up. The very first time this terrifying deity was mentioned was actually way back in Dragon Ball Z. Old Kai, right after breaking free from the sword, explicitly stated that all those years ago, a tremendously evil and powerful villain was the one who sealed him away. But he claimed that Guy wasn't nearly as evil or as absolutely broken as Majin Buu was at that moment, and he didn't forget to add that he just said that because he was terrified of Buu, just to save face. That exact villain was none other than Beerus. It is totally possible that 75 million years ago, Beerus was legitimately heavily nerfed. It is also highly likely that the author hadn't truly fleshed out his concept yet, so he just made it up on the fly, because later on, this god of destruction completely destroyed Majin Buu like a helpless child. The second major reveal was when Goku finally transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan God state and clashed head-on with the god of destruction. Beerus openly admitted that Super Saiyan God Goku was only the second strongest opponent he had ever faced in his entire immortal life. Supposedly, the god form required roughly 70% of his full capacity. Even the sheer power of Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta made Beerus use nearly 10% of his overwhelming strength. But talk is completely cheap. Even if those says ascend to Super Saiyan Blue, they still wouldn't even scratch his absolute limit. As you guys have clearly seen, Beerus has practically never transformed, nor has he ever been forced to use any sort of special ultimate technique. In the insanely hyped Dragon Ball Super Broly movie from 2018, Goku openly admitted that Broly might be even stronger than a god of destruction. But honestly, just how absurdly overpowered Beerus truly is remains an unsolved mystery. We just have to aggressively wait for the author to drop a massive plot twist. 6. The absolute core duty of a god of destruction is maintaining the fragile balance in the entire universe. Exactly. Where there is creation, there must be destruction. You absolutely need total annihilation to pave the way for brand new rebirth. Individuals who can genuinely surpass their predecessors. Utterly annihilating entire planets is actually a completely necessary factor to create brand new, thriving celestial bodies. The Supreme Kais meticulously observe and locate any planetary systems that fail to meet the cosmic standards or possess the dangerous potential to harm universal development. They absolutely have to carefully calculate and analyze every single detail before they even dare to formulate a concrete plan for the god of destruction to wipe out that planet. Many other universes have flawlessly executed this cosmic system. Their Supreme Kais and gods of destruction genuinely work in perfect harmony, totally respecting each other on the job. But over here in Universe 7, Lord Beerus literally could not care less. He purely operates on his own chaotic instincts. Whatever he feels like destroying gets instantly vaporized. Why would he ever need to follow some boring orders from a Supreme Kai with all that flashy nonsense? If the Supreme Kai even tried to act arrogant here, Beerus would brutally beat him until he couldn't even see the way home. Therefore, the Supreme Kai of Universe 7 is completely terrified of Beerus. 7. Even though he is an insanely powerful god of destruction, Beerus actually suffered a humiliating defeat in a casual arm wrestling match against a completely different god of destruction. In the anime adaptation, that person is heavily implied to be Belmod. However, in the canonical manga, the one who effortlessly beat him was Quitella. 8. Once upon a time, Beerus totally dropped by to hang out at the Grand Martial Arts Temple of the North Kai. Back in those ancient days, that specific planet was absolutely massive. Mate, over there, Beerus and King Kai decided to casually play a completely random game together, like an intense round of hide and seek, or a high-speed racing game. Somehow, in a shocking twist of fate, the Supreme God of Destruction actually lost the match. And as a direct result, the immensely salty deity threw a massive tantrum and ruthlessly obliterated King Kai's entire planet just out of pure spite. In a state of absolute, sheer panic, King Kai barely managed to grab the largest remaining fragment of his totally shattered world, and he desperately molded that floating chunk of rock into a brand new, spherical planet. After that, he carefully planted vibrant trees and glowing grass, and eventually built a long racing track. Ultimately, it successfully evolved into his current microscopic, planetary home. The only unique feature is that it fundamentally retains the massive gravitational pull of a supersized planet, making it naturally exert an extremely intense and heavy attractive force. Precisely because of this intense gravity, Goku literally begged the Eternal Dragon to revive that specific place to rigorously train his body, instead of wishing back King Kai's ancient original massive planet. This massive blunder makes the poor deity feel incredibly salty and bitter. He himself has literally never been revived even a single time ever since Goku suddenly teleported a self-destructing cell right into his peaceful sanctuary, instantly blowing him to absolute pieces. Now, he cannot even rebuild his own planet exactly the way he truly desires. 9. Lord Beerus possesses a notoriously hot-tempered and incredibly impatient personality. He easily becomes extremely annoyed and immensely agitated over the absolute most trivial and completely insignificant, normal matters. For instance, when he was denied a simple cup of sweet pudding, he fiercely confronted the fat Majin Buu and mercilessly pummeled him right in the face. He casually annihilates entire populated planets just because of extremely petty reasons, like losing a basic video game. or getting into a completely pointless argument with King Kai, sealing away a Supreme Kai over sheer nonsense, and if Vegeta even accidentally grazes his royal face during an intense sparring session, he instantly explodes in blind fury, even though he was literally the one who invited the Saiyang Prince to an intense spar in the first place. Despite all that, Beerus is actually a remarkably polite and highly sociable deity whenever he happens to be in a genuinely excellent and bright mood. During those rare peaceful moments, he consistently uses incredibly respectful vocabulary, and speaks in a rather gentle, calm tone. Even though his mental age might seem completely immature, he can genuinely act very mature and highly composed when needed. 10. The absolute god of destruction and the Supreme Kai completely share a bound cosmic life force with each other. If one of them tragically dies, then the other one will instantly perish as well. This fatal connection is highly likely the exact main reason why Beerus did not actually ruthlessly murder old Kai back in the ancient days. Moreover, he also gets incredibly terrified and extremely anxious whenever the current Supreme Kai recklessly sacrifices his own life just to save Goku. He always fiercely demands that the foolish Kai must absolutely prioritize protecting his own fragile existence above all else. Deep down, he does not realize that the wind of fate could blow at any time. If he just takes one long nap, that Supreme Kai might dramatically get himself absorbed by the completely broken Fat Boo anyway. 11. The highly unique divine attire and the iconic physical design of Lord Beerus are heavily inspired by two legendary ancient Egyptian deities, namely, Anubis and the fierce goddess Sekhmet. Anubis is a mythological humanoid god possessing the distinct head of a wild jackal. He serves as the absolute lord of the entire underworld, strictly overseeing the complex mummification process, fiercely guarding the graves of the dead, and acting as the ultimate spiritual guide, gently leading lost souls. He is also responsible for weighing the hearts of the deceased against the sacred feather of truth. Meanwhile, the mighty Sekhmet is an imposing figure who possesses a majestic humanoid body combined with a ferocious lion head. This prominent Egyptian goddess is heavily associated with scorching fire, bloody vengeance, miraculous healing medicine, and flawlessly executing utterly devastating divine punishments. She is fully capable of destroying absolutely everything in her path and driving away deadly plagues. She also has a terribly wicked temper, exactly like Beerus himself. However, those two legendary gods are merely a loose conceptual hybrid inspiration. The actual true foundational origin of the terrifying god of destruction is simply a completely hairless SPHYNX cat that the manga creator personally raised at his own empty house. The feline was quite tiny, and the author actually received a miraculous burst of divine inspiration when the poor cat incredibly survived an illness where it seemed absolutely close to death. 12. There is a wild persistent rumor that the martial arts master Korin is secretly the biological cousin of the god of destruction Beerus, supposedly because he absolutely hated engaging in toxic power struggles and chaotic divine politics. He decided to permanently relocate to an incredibly tiny, completely obscure planet on the edge of the universe called Earth, ultimately becoming an absolute legendary monument of martial arts and wisdom in this mortal realm. But in actual absolute reality, Master Korin is directly modeled after the completely normal sleeping pet cat of the esteemed creator when it was peacefully napping, which coincidentally means Beerus is also directly based on his beloved cat. 13. One fateful ancient day on the ruthless planet Vegeta, Lord Beerus made a completely unexpected secret visit to that fierce warrior stronghold. The absolute god of destruction casually dropping by for a visit is absolutely never a piece of good news for anyone involved. King Vegeta frantically waited upon Beerus and desperately hosted a wildly extravagant feast right inside the main royal palace. However, Beerus blatantly and completely utilized King Vegeta as a literal footstool. While they were casually hanging out, the extremely proud young Prince Vegeta actually witnessed that utterly humiliating scene firsthand. He felt immensely devastated and deeply outraged, but he could not do absolutely anything about it. Beerus merely had to shoot him one single menacing glare, and Vegeta was completely paralyzed. Ever since that deeply traumatic day, a profound, inescapable terror toward the god of destruction was permanently burned into his very soul. 14. Even though they are literally twin brothers, Beerus and Champa used to actually get along surprisingly well with each other back in the day, but in the current ongoing timeline, their sibling relationship is completely terrible and highly toxic. This bitter rivalry entirely started during a completely shared joint birthday celebration for these immensely powerful twin brothers. At that specific chaotic event, the Supreme Angel of Universe 6 decided to throw a massive birthday party and presented a beautiful fruit cake, decorated right on top with a single delicious puff fruit, but somehow, Lord Beerus actually completely snatched and ate that one and only sacred fruit all by himself. This made Champa absolutely furious, and these two insanely powerful guys blindly threw hands, engaging in a brutal fist fight spanning across the entire universe, destroying multiple planets, and they almost completely annihilated Universe 7 itself. However, their two faithful angel attendants instantly knocked the reckless deities out cold. Weiss brilliantly suggested that if they are always fiercely arguing over food, why not just use culinary battles to determine the ultimate winner? Ever since that fateful day, the two brothers have engaged in regular food showdowns to see which universe has the most incredibly delicious cuisine. Despite this clever arrangement, they still absolutely despise each other and constantly mock one another whenever they meet. But mate, deep down inside his proud heart, Beerus is genuinely a total softie. He actually secretly used his divine wish to magically restore the destroyed Earth in Universe 6, just so his annoying twin brother Champa could have the glorious opportunity to taste delicious meals, especially those incredibly legendary instant noodles. 15. In the manga continuity, Beerus actually participated in a colossal, universal game of hide and seek, which was personally organized by the Supreme Omni King Zeno himself. While everyone else played properly, this lazy feline actually sneaked back to his own planet and shamelessly slept for a solid 50 years during the entire intense tournament. Little Zeno was having so much fun playing, but he absolutely could not find this blasted cat for decades. As a direct result, the epic game had to be completely cancelled midway. Zeno was so ridiculously salty that he legitimately considered casually erasing every single universe from existence right then and there. Fortunately, the other quick-thinking gods of destruction frantically managed to somehow calm down the supreme ruler before he could do anything completely broken. This intensely negative incident heavily circulated, and ever since then, all the other gods of destruction have absolutely hated Beerus with a burning passion. He became even more incredibly despised when they all tragically found out that the chaotic menace Goku, who loves casually chatting with Zeno, is actually a mortal from Universe 7. 16. Beerus is completely known as someone who sleeps a massive amount. Every single nap lasts for an unbelievably long period of time. The most recent one at the very start of the Dragon Ball Super storyline saw him sleeping for a solid 39 years, which perfectly matches the exact timeline of Goku being born. However, to Lord Beerus, that massive time span was merely a super quick, refreshing afternoon nap. 17. There was one incredibly chaotic time when Beerus just woke up, and he accidentally let out a massive sneeze. This completely random, extremely overpowered sneeze did not spread some deadly global virus, but it accidentally, completely obliterated two massive suns within his universe. This utterly disastrous accident forced Weiss to use his broken temporal do-over technique, rewinding time to ensure this crazy cat did not pull off that devastating stunt a second time. 18. Lord Beerus actually heavily interacted with Frieza in the distant past, and both of them were surprisingly quite close to each other, simply because they both completely loved brutally annihilating absolutely everything. However, for some incredibly trivial reason, the arrogant Frieza managed to seriously offend Lord Beerus, so the angry deity mercilessly punched the self-proclaimed emperor of the universe right in his smug face, violently knocking out his teeth, utterly ending their short-lived friendship. In the current timeline, Beerus is actually quite heavily dependent on the evil tyrant Frieza, because the Galactic Emperor conveniently destroys planets on his behalf, allowing Beerus to easily hit his destructive quotas without actually needing to go out and do any hard work himself. 19. King Vegeta was once directly assigned a crucial mission to locate the absolutely best, most comfortable pillow in the entire cosmos for the sleeping deity. King Vegeta aggressively searched for it by brutally conquering numerous innocent planets, claiming countless mortal lives, and utterly destroying many advanced civilizations. He successfully secured it, but in an act of sheer, absolute arrogance, King Vegeta actually secretly kept the absolute best pillow completely for himself. The sneaky king then foolishly handed over the second best, vastly inferior pillow, directly to Lord Beerus. Normally, an incredibly short-tempered Beerus would have violently murdered King Vegeta and instantly annihilated the entire Xiliang planet, without a second thought. But Lord Beerus actually decided to completely spare the young Prince Vegeta, simply because he recognized the massive underlying potential residing within the boy. Therefore, right before he initiated his massive 39-year slumber, he actually strictly ordered Frieza to entirely wipe out that specific Xiliang planet in his place. When the proud Xiliang prince finally discovered this dark, devastating truth, he completely lost his mind and aggressively attacked Beerus, but his total power level was not even equal to a single mere fingernail of the absolute god of destruction. 20. Beerus always heavily tries to project a completely calm and highly serious persona, acting like someone purely focused on his singular cosmic goal of ultimate destruction, yet he is incredibly easily distracted, and completely fails to restrain his rampant emotions, simply because he is totally obsessed with delicious earthly food. He loves to feast so much. In one hilariously sad instance, he mercilessly destroyed exactly half of a highly populated planet, purely because of a meal. This specific world belonged to a bizarre alien race that deeply resembled pigs. He honestly thought their native gourmet food was incredibly tasty, but unfortunately, it contained way too much unhealthy grease. 21. Lord Beerus has mercilessly killed billions upon billions of lives, but later on, he surprisingly feels absolutely no remorse or regret whatsoever, even though he continuously massacres populations without a single second thought. You know, many of you watching this video also casually end countless virtual lives in massive video games without feeling any guilt. 22. Beerus is actually the very first major antagonist in the entire franchise who completely defeated the main character Goku, but was absolutely never killed off. He is also canonically one of the three incredibly terrifying entities who effortlessly made the proud Prince Vegeta tremble in absolute, sheer fear. The other two legendary nightmares are none other than Frieza and the absolute powerhouse Broly. 23. In the year age 739, Lord Beerus received a massive cosmic warning with a totally accurate prophecy stating that in exactly 39 years, he would finally encounter a highly mysterious, perfectly matched rival, bearing the legendary title of Super Saiyan God. Right after the Oracle Fish dropped that epic lore, Beerus went to sleep and literally dreamed about this absolute warrior. When he finally woke up from his massive slumber, his memory was completely fuzzy. He aggressively started hunting down this supposed legendary fighter, but who would have guessed, he only ran into absolute fodder and completely weak mortals, effortlessly beating them until they could not even see the way home. 24. The only person who can genuinely cause a massive heart attack for Lord Beerus is absolutely not the Omni King Zeno, but actually Son Goku himself.